Let me guess, you're still not over last night's premiere of Below Deck Sailing Yacht? Then check out our interview with two of your faves from the show, Colin and Gary.
Colin MacRae, we are so excited to have you on the pod today, especially because Danny and we just binge watched or just very, very passionately watched the season 4 premiere of Below Deck Sailing Yacht. I think I watched it like 3 or 4 times, but by now it was so good. I felt bad for you that it started with all that engine drama.
Yeah, it was insane. I've never felt that much pressure on a super yacht before, and I've been doing this for 15 odd years. So I've had my fair share of like engineering incidents that arise, but this was next level.
And I also feel because obviously you're doing your job on a reality show, so drama is bound to happen. Were you surprised that the first thing to start drama was not one of your fellow crew members, but the engine? Like, did you get shocked going into this with like your baby, your boat, having this drama bringing your way?
Yeah, you can say that again. Glenn and I keep in contact between seasons, and I was asking how the boat's running, and they just finished a shipyard period to do some maintenance and whatnot. So the boat was meant to be running fine. And, through no fault of Glenn's or anyone's, really, we just had this catastrophic failure that was pretty much jeopardized the entire season. And for a while there, we thought it was game over. It was a showstopper. Yeah, there was something happened to the engine, which you'd have to normally rebuild the entire engine, and that can be, that can take months, really. So
I love that you guys do the idea that I think should everybody who's planning an event or anything should do is like, okay, something's going wrong. Let's just get everybody invited wasted and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, for this particular situation, that wasn't the case. I had to be absolutely on the ball.
You couldn't have
Plus, you've probably already seen it, but the Gary was missing for the first wee while, so it was a lot. We were man down and an engine down, and it was a horrible way to start the season.
Well, speaking of Gary, he eventually comes on board, and the engine drama turns into this love triangle drama, which is so exciting for the fans to see. Colin, what was it like living through that love triangle situation?
Oh man, it was horrible, to be honest with you. It was the last thing I was expecting. I was quite shocked to hear some of the things that came out in the trailer. I'm seeing this stuff for the first time. So what I was being told and what I ended up seeing are very different storylines. So yeah, it was quite a shock.
What moments are you talking about in particular that really took you back? Who kind of shocked you the most?
I just saw in the trailer where Gary said that Daisy was just hooking up with me out of spite, basically, and yeah, it just didn't even occur to me that that was the case.
Looking back on the love triangle now and with time to reflect, do you think there is validity to that sentiment of Gary possibly being a spiteful hookup for Daisy, or do you think that was Gary trying to reframe the situation to make himself feel better?
Yeah, that the latter for sure. I spent a lot of time with Daisy, and yeah, I kind of know that that's not the case, but I also didn't know that that's how Gary felt. But Gary, Gary's Gary. He wants to have the limelight the entire time, and I'm not sure that he actually felt that way. It was just maybe for a bit of drama on his side.
And one of our coworkers talked to Daisy yesterday, and she said that she's like now best friends with her and like loves her because she's so fun. But Daisy was saying that feeling and like kind of experiencing this like love triangle now, and even in the hindsight, that like she almost felt like sort of like a trophy, and it felt like competitive at parts. Do you feel that it's like you understand where she's coming from in that regard? And do you think that kind of was, to your point, being pushed by Gary? Because he turned it into like, instead of you and Daisy having this romantic moment, he's like, all right, now it's like the Bachelorette.
Yeah, what happened with Daisy and I was very different, I think, than what was going on between her and him. But nonetheless, it was a complicated situation. and just one that I didn't really want to be in.
Is it still complicated, or are you feeling is it a little less the math is all solved now?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Are we officially official? Because I'm rooting for you two. I like seeing y'all together.
Yeah, I can't say too much about that, but we definitely we've got a connection that's our a connection as friends was evident before the season even started. So it wasn't off the cards for that to happen between her and I. It was just the first time I was single and in the don't know if it's the right place or the right time, but I was there.
Yeah,
Well, tell us about your romantic feelings for Daisy. So they didn't just develop overnight. This was kind of like a slow burn. Did she catch your eye previously, and it just so happened that you had been in relationships and couldn't really act on your feelings or your attraction? Like, tell us more of that story.
But so I'm a pretty loyal guy. Well, I'm a very loyal guy, and so when I'm in a relationship, my mind doesn't really even go there as an option, and she knows that. She's super respectful. So yeah, we had this chemistry, and we love each other's company, and there were moments in all of our seasons where we confided in each other and shared feelings, and it's yeah, it was just kind of like a natural chemistry that we had, but we hadn't thought of it as a romantic option, I guess, until we started season 4.
and so how was that when you kind of, because you said obviously you guys were friends and you love spending time together, but when you during season 4 filming, how were those first moments when you're kind of like, oh, I'm like, were you getting little butterflies? Like, were you starting to get nervous around her? And like, what kind of was going through your head? And were you kind of like, oh, is she thinking of it? Should I just bring it up?
Nah, it just happened so naturally. There was none of that nervous. It wasn't like going on a first date with somebody or anything like that. We'd been such good friends and so comfortable around each other that, if it happened, it would have been fine. If it hadn't happened, that would have been fine as well. Like there was no one, no one wanting it more than the other or anything like that. It was just a friendship that evolved into something else throughout that season. But yeah, I'm not sure any of us saw that one coming.
I feel what's
I
hard.
mean, I certainly didn't. Who made the first move?
Um, who made the first move? I uh I think we both did. It was just something that we were both kind of drunk when it happened the first time, but I think we just both leant in and went for it.
I would have loved if it was just the boat rocking and you both just like fell into each other.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. It was an accident.
Yeah, well, that's what I feel like. It's so what's crazy about y'all show more than so many other ones on Bravo is that you guys, I mean, you're working so many hours and you're experiencing all these feelings, good, bad, or the other with one another, but you can't get away from one another. It's like the quarters are so tight. So how was kind of like all these being introduced to all these like newbies too that were coming on this season while you're developing with Daisy? Were there any other dramatic moments? Obviously with Gary, you were talking about, but like with anybody else, that you're like, oh, there's really so much happening at once.
Yeah, I felt overwhelmed. I was the closest to my personal breaking point that I've ever been. The Gary being gone, so having to sort of be responsible in a way for Chase and Alex, the engine basically blowing up. It was a catastrophic failure of the engine, and having the pressure of not only getting the season up and running for the guests, but also for the crew. We've all dedicated this amount of time to do these charters and earn some money and then go back onto our other endeavors. So the guests would have been devastated, but the entire crew would have been devastated as well. Puts us all out of a job if we have to go back to the shipyard. So the pressure was insane.
It's such a fun group that you guys have for season 4 of Below Deck Sailing Yacht, and there's some very pretty girls on board this season. There's Mads and Alicia, and then also Lucy. So you being single for the first time on the boat, were you ever tempted to pursue one of the new girls, or was it kind of like I'm going for Daisy from the jump?
I went in there with an open mind. Well, I actually went in there hoping that I wouldn't hook up with anyone. I wanted to just be professional, focus on my job, pull off a great season and make a bunch of money. But yeah, I guess being single in that environment, it's almost inevitable that some drama takes place.
Having built a friendship with Gary over the years, did you have any hesitation about pursuing Daisy? Did it feel maybe like a slight violation of bro code, or were you not concerned about that?
No, not at all. We've joked about it before. We've spoken about it before, leading up to the season. It even came up. What if me and Daisy hooked up or whatever, jokingly or serious, whatever. He was just always like, "Go for it, man, go for it. Yeah, that'll be funny." Like he just made it so clear to me that he had zero feelings for her whatsoever. So it was a green light from the get-go.
Interesting.
That is really interesting. It's also really interesting. You said that you wanted to come into the season and focus on work. In the trailer, Gary also says the same thing, and then cut to him making out with a bunch of people. I think one of them, if I saw correctly, was Mads. So he's kissing Mads, but then he's also still pressed about what Daisy is or isn't doing with you. What did you think of the way he moved through this season in general?
Yeah, Gary enjoys the limelight. He enjoys the attention, and for the first time in our below deck seasons, anyway, he wasn't really getting a lot of attention from the girls. So that he was just trying to get that limelight back a little bit. I love Gary. Like, we're still great friends and everything. But yeah, there was a moment where he was kind of excluded from it, but Mads kept them entertained a little bit.
I feel it is hard because you have a very attractive, handsome cast and gorgeous girls, everything like that. Gary's a cutie, but Chase and Alex coming on the scene, they are hard to ignore. So I can understand why some of your crewmates were kind of like, hi Gary, we gotta go look at it. Gotta go hang out with Alex a little bit.
Yeah, man, these guys, Alex and Chase, are like bloody models. They're really, really good looking dudes. So they were always going to be a threat to Gary in a way. He kind of ruled the roost for the previous 2 seasons, but now he's got some genuine contenders for stealing the limelight with the ladies.
And does he clash with those guys kind of over that? Like, does he have an issue coming to terms with that fact?
There are moments where there's a bit of tension. Yeah, it's hard to separate your personal life with work when you're in such close quarters. Professionally, everyone was just working great, but in the personal side, there was a couple of clashes, which happens every single season.
It seems like Mads is kind of going in between Alex and Gary, which kind of mirrors the situation with you and Daisy and Gary. Were there any similarities that you saw? But were there like 2 love triangles going on? There's so many shapes.
it's a
I guess there's so many shapes. Yeah, there were no squares, but there were probably a couple of triangles. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, look, a triangle's that's the most fun shape, obviously.
I don't know. Get me with a rhombus. We'll figure something out. Like I feel there. I don't know. Some of your guys' parties in the trailer, I feel some rhombuses might have gone down. We don't have to get into it, but yeah.
Wait, Colin, I am curious. In the trailer for the rest of the season, there is a moment where Gary's pressing you like, hey, you're a single guy. Like, do you have your eye on anyone? And then it's cut to this footage of you and Daisy making out. And I personally, as a fan of the show, I got full body chills. I just want to know from you, how did it feel for you to watch that playback and sort of like seeing the chemistry between you and Daisy just like pulsing off of the screen?
Yeah, that was real. That was real chemistry taking place on national television. So watching it back's pretty awkward, to be honest with you. I've never seen myself kiss anybody on camera. Like, hey, who would have? it's not something that you sort of film and go back and watch, but we don't really have that option on the show. So yeah, I guess from what I did see, yeah, a couple of hot and steamy little makeout sessions.
What was our one of my favorite guys in the world, Captain Glenn's? What is his thought on it all, seeing, because this is his first time seeing you, I mean all of them seeing you single. Did you talk to him at all about your feelings developing for Daisy? Did he give you any insights, warning, etc.?
Yeah, I did. Glenn and I are great friends. We keep in touch between seasons, and you know, he knew that I was coming into the season single, so he was excited about that. Glenn's one of the boys, you know, he loves chatting about all that kind of stuff. And when it was starting to unravel on the show, he was telling me to go for it. He was all for it.
What is it specifically about Daisy that attracts you to her? I mean, because as a viewer, like we're very aware that she is a catch, but I want to know what it is about her that makes Colin so obsessed.
Don't know if obsessed is the right word, but no, we just had this natural chemistry, you know. You know when you just vibe with somebody and they're just so easy to talk to, they're just easy to be around. I just really enjoy her company, and it was just kind of this natural progression that happened. But you know, she's got so many great qualities. She's a great leader. She's super social. Everybody kind of looks up to her, and yeah, she's got so many great qualities that I was attracted to.
And I know that we have to watch the rest of the season to see how your love story plays out. But when you just envision the future and you think about Daisy, what do you see?
In the future, Daisy and I, will probably be, I don't know. You'll have to watch the show. Whatever I say now will give away sort of what happens during the end of the season. But yeah, I'll leave you with that.
Without giving too much away, because looking out for the future season, I always get when some of the new faces come around. Are there any of the newbies that we feel we should kind of look out for? Because right now it seems like everybody was working pretty well together. You all handled that major crisis mode very well. Will we be seeing that the rest of the season, or is there kind of one that you're like, keep some tabs on that?
No, this was a phenomenal crew to work with. I mean, every single season, there's drama. There's no two ways about it. We're it's working so hard. We're tired. We're hungover a lot of the time. We're in close quarters. It's just a lot to navigate for any season. So yeah, plenty of drama. It's gonna be one for the books, I think.
Alex, we were talking about how handsome he is earlier. And it seems like his good looks have caught the attention of Katie Maloney from Vanderpump Rules. She left a little thirsty comment on a picture of him recently on Instagram. What do you think about them potentially becoming a thing? Because I love this like recent like Bravo crossover romance showman situation. We have Giselle and Jason. We had Ashley and Luke. So I feel like Katie and Alex could be the next couple.
You know what? Like Alex is one good-looking dude, man. He's a model. He's got it all going on. So I wouldn't put anything past that guy.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see him on a Winter House. What would you think of doing one of those shows, having a little bit of a crossover moment yourself, Colin?
To be honest with you, I've never watched the show, so I don't know what the deal is with it. I live a pretty not isolated, but I've got a YouTube channel and I do weekly episodes on YouTube. So everything I do is kind of based around my YouTube channel. So I don't get a lot of time to watch any TV, to be honest.
I feel like there's actually has been an influx of thirst for you, Colin. I don't know if you saw, but there's this Bravo fan account called Two Judgy Girls, and they do their March Madness competition every March. And basically, it's like the creme de la creme of hot Bravo dudes. And Captain Jason actually won the competition, but you yourself made it pretty far. Were you aware? And what do you think of your sex symbol status kind of increasing as your Bravo career continues?
And now that you were single.
Yeah.
What's that?
And now that you're single.
Can thirst appropriately.
Yeah, I find it all just totally shocking. You know, never have, and probably never will view myself and through that lens. It's just, yeah, I'm just a normal dude from New Zealand doing my thing. But I did see Jason I met Jason in New York one time, so he's a great dude. He's a good looking guy. So I wasn't really surprised at that one.
An honor to lose to him.
What's that? Sorry.
Oh, it was an honor to lose to him.
Yeah, man, he's great. He's great. He's a good dude. Yeah.
And one of my favorite, obviously, you're not always interacting so much with the people who are charting the boat and everything like that. But is there more insanity to look forward to in that regard? I mean, the EDM dance from the first episode really took. I did have a lot of LOLing watching everybody making that vision come true. Is there more craziness like that coming forward? Because one of my favorite things to do watching the show is judging these people that I'm like, how are you a human and you're shouting at people with all like this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, anyone who comes on the boat knows that they're getting filmed, and some of the things that people do and say are just, you know, shocking, really. But yeah, there's plenty of that this season. It's yeah, these guests, yeah, they know how to have a good time, that's for sure.
Can you tease maybe the most shocking request from a charter guest this season? Is there something that really just made your head spin?
Yeah, like you guys said, I kind of am out of the whole guest side of it, and I had so much going on in the engine room this season. For me, the season just revolved around keeping that engine running and keeping everything, you know, in my department, I'm normally behind the scenes, and so what I do is pretty much everyone's oblivious to what's going on. But this season they had to show it because, you know, there was some showstoppers. So when you talk about the guests, if the engine wasn't working, the guests were going to have a horrible time, which would have made it difficult for all of us. So I had a really important role just keeping the boat floating. So to keep the guests happy.
On the season premiere, the guests kept pressing Daisy. They were like, so when's the boat taking off? When's the boat taking off? And Daisy was like, I don't know. And
she was great. She's like, oh, let me top you off. I'll find out about that. Let me top you off.
Yeah, she knew well and good right then that we were possibly looking at finishing the season. Like, it was that big of a deal, what was happening down in the engine room. So yeah, we had to have a pretty serious conversation with Glenn and production as well, that the show might have to come to an end.
Well, I'm glad that it all worked out, and we have you to thank for that, honestly. Like, the fact that the engine got back up and running, we now have a Below Deck Sailing Yacht Season 4, and it is so good. And Danny and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today, Colin.
Don't go anywhere, because now you get to listen to our exclusive interview with Gary King from Below Deck Sailing Yacht.
Should I get a beer for this interview?
Yeah, possibly.
No, I'm playing. It's only 9:45 in the morning, so.
Oh my God, it's early for you.
Yeah.
Where are you right now?
I'm at my brother's house in New Zealand.
Oh,
Okay. Exactly, yeah. I've
All
been here
right.
for 2 months visiting my nieces and my brother, I guess. Yeah, so it's been good. It's been really nice. I haven't met one of my nieces due to COVID, so it's quite nice to come over here and be an uncle in person as opposed to just over the phone. I mean, kids say hi to you over the phone and then they're bored, and then, you know, so you can't actually get to know them.
They're like, the screen is usually more fun when there's a game that I can play, not
100%, yeah, 100%, and making weird noises.
That kind of kicks off, I mean, the first episode of season 4. Speaking of you with COVID restrictions, we missed you.
I know. I missed it. I missed myself too, to be honest. Coming into a season late, I guess, because I wasn't there on time, I found it a bit challenging due to the fact that I work on Parsifal and she's my baby. You know, I've worked on the boat for 2.5 years, and I can't be there to welcome the crew. You know, that's normally my job. And now I'm coming in as an outsider to the boat that I work on. It wasn't the easiest welcoming, to say the least. But it is what it is, and I'm pretty good with coming late, so I did the best I can.
It seems like Colin was a little lost without you when all of that engine drama started to flare up.
Yeah, I know. And I was on the phone with them, with Colin and Glenn constantly while I was in quarantine. And I mean, this is something that you can't plan for. We had just did the trip. We had just done the trip from Spain to Sardinia, and everything worked fine. There was a 4-day trip, no problems. Get there, I get COVID. I have to leave the boat, and I get a phone call from Glenn saying that the engine's been flooded. So obviously, me working on the boat for so long, having worked 2.5 years there, obviously I take a lot of the weight on my shoulders, thinking that it's my responsibility, and being so helpless, having COVID stuck in your hotel room is the absolute worst scenario possible.
I know. I was curious. I was wondering. I was glad that we were talking to you because I was wondering. I was like, is Gary so upset or angry now, or is he watching? Like, oh, glad I missed this.
A bit of both, to be honest. I didn't say that, but you never. I mean, on a yacht, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what size yacht you are on, boats just give problems. They hate salt water, which is quite a contradiction. Nothing like salt water. And they just keep giving problems. So in a sense, I was happy that I wasn't there for the problems. But then also saying that being so helpless, and knowing that it could have been the end of the season, not being able to leave the dock, made it even worse. So I was like, all I want to do is just get there, try help as much as I can, so we can have a good season.
So when you finally made your way onto the boat, how quick did it take for this love triangle to form, Gary? We are so interested to see how this whole thing plays out with Daisy and Colin.
Well, to be honest, funny you say that because I think this love triangle's been there since day one. Like even from the beginning of seasons, and that's all I'm going to say. But I think throughout this season, you guys are going to see that maybe there was a love triangle from season 1, but no one really noticed it. And now at the end of this season, I've kind of seen it. Thinking back, especially to season 1, I'm not going to say anything, but things that were said and people that went to tell other people things. I think there's always been a little connection there, or a little love triangle there, and it's going to play out in some people's favors and not in some people's favors. I think there's going to be, I mean, I'm never one to choose sides, but people are going to choose sides regardless. It's just how it is.
It's interesting you're saying that. Now I want to go back and watch every episode from the past 3 seasons, because you're saying all this as Colin was in a relationship in those past 3 seasons. So now he leans in and smirks. Okay.
No comment. That's sorry. My facial expressions. Let's cover my camera. I can't hide anything.
Don't cover the camera. We have to see the bum fluffs. Okay, so that's interesting. I think I may need to do some digging to see if there were maybe some Colin Daisy flirtations that maybe we all didn't pick up on.
Yeah, maybe. Or things that were said, etc., etc. Because it's quite funny now thinking back about it. I mean, this is season 1 and 2. Things that were said that I've said in confidence that have been said to other people. I was like, oh, okay, maybe underlying there was something else going on there. Little did Gary know. Gary can't pick up a stone from a stick. But anyway, so it's yeah, unfortunately, people are going to take sides. And I mean, that's just how life is. And I think this season resembles a lot on everyday relationships, and the struggles people go through with their significant other, or if there's someone else in their life. It doesn't just happen on the show. It happens to everyone, regardless of the workplace they're in or not workplace. And I think people are going to be able to relate to that for the good and the bad.
Oh, completely. Yeah, it's such a relatable situation. Love triangles, like you said, happen anywhere and everywhere. And it's kind of interesting, Gary. We were talking to Colin earlier today, and one thing that he mentioned to us is that he was very surprised when he watched the trailer to see you approach Daisy and say or suggest that them hooking up is sort of in spite of you. He was very shocked to learn that, and he didn't seem to be too pleased with that assessment. But can you elaborate on what you meant there and why you think that maybe it was, in some way trying to get back at you?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I think it was more of jealousy speaking than anything else. I've always said, and I've always felt Daisy and I have had a connection. With saying that, it's a bit hypocritical of me to say that, as I was also hooking up with someone else. But I don't know if you can relate to it, but seeing someone that you feel you've got a connection with hook up with someone else is not a nice feeling. I've got no foot to stand on here. I mean, Daisy can do whatever she wants. But like I say, having a connection with her, I feel like I've had a connection with her for years on end now. Seeing her hook up with someone else, I think it was more jealousy speaking than sense, really.
I feel it's also hard because if I was watching someone that I liked hook up with someone else, I would leave the party. But for you, you can't leave the boat and you're working
No.
with all of them. So how did you balance the working relationship you had with them while all this was going on?
Well, I'm pretty good at brushing things under the carpet. And regardless of what goes on in my personal life, I'm not going to let that affect my job and my work ethic. And I think people have seen that throughout the seasons. And as long as I can be professional at work, whatever happens outside of work doesn't really have anything to do with that. So I kind of don't let it bother me, although it is in the back of my mind. But we're all there for the greater good. We're all there to have a good season, to make some good money. And I'm not going to let my bit of jealousy I have for someone ruin that.
At what point did you realize that there was something going on with Colin and Daisy this season? Did either of them mention it to you, or did you catch them in a moment of kissing? Like, how did that happen, Gary?
How it happened? To be honest, I did not see it coming. Colin and I had a few chats about it and about Daisy before they hooked up. And I think when someone told me, oh yeah, Colin and Daisy hooked up last night, I was like, what? Really? I was like, oh, it came as a massive shock to me, as I'm sure it did to a lot of other people. And I'm sure it will to many more people when you actually see how it unfolds. So at the end, no, I didn't see it coming. And in a sense, I was pleasantly surprised. I think they make a cute couple. Do I think they're right for each other? That's a story for another day.
It could be today if you want.
No.
There's no day like
think,
today. I don't know if you know the news.
There's no time like the present. Exactly. But let's chat again around episode 12, and then we'll come back to that. Yeah, please do.
Well, I'm curious. What do you think? One of me and Evan's favorite people on the show. What is Captain Glenn's thought on all of this? Do you think he's rooting for Colin and Daisy? He's kind of like, what is going on my boat?
Yeah, to be honest, I think Glenn actually doesn't give a shit. As long as we all work and play well together, he couldn't care less. He always says that we like his children, that he's looking after. Yeah, love Glenn. So as long as we can work well together and not bring any conflict or issues onto the boat, then Glenn will be happy. As soon as there's conflicts of interests, that's when he'll step in.
How do this season's newbies do in regards to bringing the conflict of interests and etc.?
Well, I'll see. I think a lot of them are keen to have a lot of fun, come there, make some good money, hook up with one another. And all in all, I think we've got a good team this season. I think everyone comes in a little hot-headed, not knowing what they're getting into. But you'll see how it plays out. The season will be a feel-good season due to that reason of us bonding so well together.
Gary, there's this moment in the trailer that I love where you're like, I'm here to work and make money and like not hook up with anyone. And then we cut to a montage of you kissing all over the boat. I think one of the people you're kissing is the new girl, Mads, who is very beautiful, by the way. She seems like a lot of fun. What can you say about your journey with Mads this season?
My journey was interesting with Mads, to say the least. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't want to give too much away, but I asked her whether or not it's just going to be a seasonal fling or if she wants something more out of it. And she couldn't ever give me the answer for that. And I did ask a few times, which makes me look a little bit, what would I say, desperate.
Parched.
But yeah, exactly. But for me, you know, I'm quite happy to have a seasonal fling. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy to have a one night stand also. Shouldn't really say that. But until someone tells
Okay.
me what they want, yeah, whoopsie.
Nothing
Until
wrong with
someone
that.
tells,
Go on for it. Yes.
yeah, as I mean, if I ask a question, it's like, what do you want out of this? And you don't know, you know, the more and more we hook up, the more feelings are going to develop. But if from day one she's like, oh no, let's just have a seasonal fling, then maybe I could have understood that. So you'll see how our relationship plays out, and I think it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's nothing wrong with asking questions, Gary.
No,
And
exactly. To try to get some verification.
right. Well, my next question for you is, how did the situation with Mads play into the complicated dynamic with Daisy and Colin? Were there like two love triangles going on the boat? Because
Yeah,
she
I
was
think
also
it's like an
getting,
hourglass, actually.
yeah.
You know, it's two triangles gone. Yeah. That's what the symbol, the emblem should be for the season, and just ticking slowly away.
Right.
Well, no, that's what I say is quite hypocritical of me. Me being jealous of Daisy and Colin hooking up is very hypocritical, as I was hooking up with Mads. Yeah, and it was a weird situation. Like I say, I definitely didn't have the chemistry that I have with Daisy that I did with Mads. And I always have a soft spot for Daisy. So I think it was rude of me saying something like that. But it was how I felt at the time, and you know, it is what it is.
And how was you getting along? Because obviously you and Matt had some fun. There are some new boys on the boat. And Colin was kind of saying that it threw off the dynamic a little bit because now you have some guys, also with one guy in particular has some long hair as well, flexing a little bit. Did you, when you met them for the first time, were you like, I don't know if I'm gonna vibe with them, or was it an instant good energy with the new
Well, I had COVID for the first charter, so I missed the first charter and their first night out. So when I met everyone, everyone was hungover. So they weren't very welcoming. Well, they weren't welcoming at all, to say the least. So it was quite strange stepping onto a boat that you've worked on for 2.5 years and no one's welcoming you. So from day one, I thought it's going to be a long season. The guys that I had, they came in very hot-headed. This was their first season. This was my third season. I know how long the season can be. And I've done it. This was my third time. So take my direction and listen to me, which seemed to be the biggest problem or the biggest challenge for them, was just listening to their boss. And I think you'll see how that plays out. In the beginning, it was a bit shaky, but throughout the season, or how the season goes, as forming as a team, it was one of the strongest deck teams I've had. So I was happy about that.
And I feel Katie from Vanderpump Rules is going to be very excited to watch this season, because I don't know if you saw this, Gary. She was posted a little thirst comment under a photo of Alex on Instagram. Do you think they could get together? But even more importantly, I'm wondering, is there a Bravo Lab out there that Gary wants to shoot his shot with, or maybe already has?
Yeah, I don't know if you know Taylor Ann Green from Southern Charm.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we know her.
Yeah, so I slid into her DMs and we chat every now and then, but I didn't have the chance to meet her at BravoCon as we were so busy. But yeah, I slid into her DMs. She seems like a really, really cool girl.
I can see you guys
So if
together.
ever I get the chance, yeah, maybe. But
Okay, so
what's the
what
line
is
you
it
would give her
about-
right now? If you
Yeah,
could, if we could send this to her, what would you want to say to her?
please don't put me on the spot like that.
Love is on the spot.
I'm in better in person, I promise. God.
We'll tell her that. Okay.
I'm never lost for words. Yeah.
What
Yeah,
is it about Taylor Ann Green? She's obviously a very beautiful girl, but are you a fan of Southern Charm? Have you caught her vibe by watching the show?
No,
What
I've
attracts
never
you?
seen the show in my life. I didn't even know what it was about, to be honest. It's just because we were in BravoCon together, and I think she caught me eyeing her out a little bit from a distance. And when I slid into her DM, she actually mentioned that. She's like, "Oh, I saw you looking at me. Why don't you come say hi?" And Gary, who he is never nervous. And I was just too nervous. I was shy to how it was to go over and say hi. Also, because she was bombarded by that very tall guy who I thought was her boyfriend, who I believe was previously. And he's intimidating. I'm not the tallest. I'm like, what, 5'8", 5'9", and he's like 6'6", so he towers over me like the Eiffel Tower.
He's 6'6", but a sweetie. You could have gone up, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I can, and I'm actually
also-
shooting myself in the foot, so
Yeah.
hopefully in the future it can happen. I love her outlook on life. I like how easygoing she is, and it doesn't seem like she takes anything too seriously, which I absolutely love.
I feel me and Evan are shocked imagining you shy because I can't picture that.
I'm not. I know. Well, this is the effect she has on me, to be honest. And this doesn't happen. Look, I'm going red now also. Gosh.
No, it's so funny you talking about you being shy, and then in the trailer we see you basically butt naked, holding like was it a t-shirt in front? I mean,
Yeah.
what was going on
the
there?
toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
The toilet paper. I know. Well, to be honest, I'm not a shy person, and I've always loved approaching people or going up to people. But this time I just couldn't. I couldn't bring it towards myself. I don't know. I felt like a little school kid with his first crush, to be honest.
I just imagine you with like a backpack and an apple. You're like, hi,
Yeah,
Taylor.
Exactly. Yeah. Hi, Taylor. Yeah. Or write her a little letter. Put it under her desk.
There's always next BravoCon. And
Yeah.
then, Southern Charm, Below Deck, Vanderpump Rules, Summer House. There's opportunities for you guys to sort of coexist in Winter House. Would you ever be down to do a season of Winter House?
I would love to. I'd love to branch off and do other seasons. I mean, my main concern is doing about Below Deck. If they don't overlap each other, I would love to keep being in the, how would I say, the Bravo world and do as many shows as possible, to be honest. The people, especially at BravoCon, were so welcoming. The hospitality was phenomenal. And just everyone that's surrounded by, I'd say, Bravo and NBC has just been so kind and so fun to work with, that for that exact reason I would love to stay with them and do more shows.
I would want someone that has been on Winter House before to help you pack, because I feel you can't bring bathing suits because it's all in the snow. So I feel like you would have
birthday suit?
A birthday suit.
You can bring the birthday suit.
Sweet, that's my favorite. Okay.
With your bum fannies, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, well, speaking of getting into birthday suits and all that fun, I feel some of the charters and some of the guests get a little wild coming up in this season. Is there any party or moment in particular from one of them that you're like, oh, that left a mark? People are gonna like be shocked watching that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but there was, how do I say this? There was almost, or let's say there was a fist fight between guests. And I don't know if I can say that, but alcohol leads to one thing, and you always want guests to have a good time, and that's up to us. And even if they're fighting amongst each other, you always reflect back on yourself, and is it something we did or something that's caused this? But that's never nice, and that was a very difficult situation to go through, having guests like that.
I feel like it's hard too, because you can't be like, it's very hard for you, like, oh, guests have a fun time, but you can't be like, oh, I want to cut you off or anything like that, because it's a very.
Well, I was the security guard, and I'm like, I'm the smallest person on the boat. These guys are like 6'6".
You're like,
what am I gonna do? They'll break me like a toothpick, I swear. But you want, I mean, like I say, you always want guests to have the best time. This is why we do the job. It's supposed to be a 7-star hotel on the water. And seeing guests like that, it kind of reflects badly on us. But I think when you see how the guests were with each other, people will understand that it's got nothing to do with us, and it's actually the personalities they have.
Oh yeah, I feel also a testament to all of y'all is even though you weren't on the first one because you had COVID and the boat literally couldn't leave the dock, they were having the time of their lives.
No, I know, exactly. And I mean, anyone would be so lucky enough to charter a super yacht, regardless if it stays static on the dock. Just the level of service, the quality of food this season was also phenomenal. But yeah, you charter a sailing yacht or a yacht to go out on the water, and it's a bit of a pity that they couldn't. And then I guess it was because I wasn't there. Gary wasn't there to save the day.
Right? We just needed Gary there to save the day. Now, Gary, before we let you go, there's so much to look forward to on season 4 of Below Deck Sailing Yacht. But when it comes to your personal story and what you bring to the season, what are you most excited for fans to see?
Oh gosh, I mean, after my 3rd season, working with people that haven't worked in the industry before, I think seeing my patience, seeing me build as a character, and just the relationship that I have with the crew, especially Glenn, how strong that's got. And yes, everyone has problems in their workplace and spaces, and you'll see that from the beginning. But how we manage to overcome them and work well as a team together, I think it's going to be a good testament to my work ethic and the way I am with people.
And just a final thought, if Colin and Daisy don't work out, are you hopeful to rekindle that relationship in the future?
The door's always open with Daisy and I. I'm not going to say no, because I can't. But one thing I can say is we do live 2 very different lives. Whereas she lives in the UK and I live in Spain, which is not too far away from each other. But no, it's not. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the door's closed or that chapter's closed, but we never know what might happen in the future. I mean, I think Daisy's a very special person. And we're still very good friends. We chat regularly. So who knows what the future holds for us?
All right. Well, we'll be waiting here with our crystal ball.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a magic 8 ball over there. So
you're like Taylor or Daisy, Taylor or Daisy.
Yeah, exactly. Taylor. No, I'm joking.